Welcome back to Orwell. We've got a lot of threads we're following at this point, but none of them really seem to be leading back to the key thing that our boss is worried about, which is the part that confuses me. Is there another piece? I mean, I don't know how this is relevant. It's already pretty evident that she and Raban don't have a kid. Where was that reference earlier? This was ages ago now. I mean, it's many episodes for you guys, and it's weeks for me since I've seen some of these things. So, there was the thing about how there was another, it was like on day one, and how I got the impression that maybe it was Oleg's daughter? Radka, yeah. That we don't know what happened to her, but like there's enough connections between the individuals that it's like maybe that's where she ended up. Why are some of these... Is it only... Yeah, it's just whatever the top one is always marked as in red for some reason. It's not actually meaningful. Okay. Well, we don't know anything about her, right? Okay. So for the moment, we'll still put that aside. I still have my suspicions. We have this on the horizon, which is funny because we can read it, but we even submitted the data that he has it scheduled. What are we gonna... I don't know what the game... have I just like grievously missed the mark on this whole day? Because I feel like I've submitted so much information. We've had enough pieces of evidence where it was like this was the one linchpin piece of evidence to unlock a bunch more things to show up, because this game floods you with a lot of information, but in reality it's doling out the important ones one at a time. So we've got Molly, who we know met with Karen on the 13th at the memorial. But that doesn't tell us, like, that didn't go anywhere. I don't think submitting this piece of information is going to be meaningful for me. We already, like, there's no point in me putting that in. Is there anything else on this page? No. It's just this one. So let's look through all of these now. Is this what it wants me to do? I feel like these yellow ones are usually pretty important, but both of these seem so pointless. I don't even know why this would be marked relevant. In the same way that we have Raban listed as being at the Outer Bonton reception camp, why is that even a piece of information that we're able to grab? Clearly that's wrong. You know. So... well, let's submit this one and see what happens. I guess I don't understand how it's relevant. Like, it's information we know, but it shouldn't unlock anything new. We already have the sense as the investigator that they, from that phone call alone, let alone the other information, that they are not on the same page and have not been for some time. Knowing this could prove valuable, although the fact alone probably won't help us. Well, that's exactly what I was saying. But only one more hour before the article is released. We must prevent this. We must. How do you expect me to prevent it? Do they want me to figure out that Ilya's cheating? So that they can throw that up on social media and rattle Raban? Because that's what they've been doing so far. In fact, the fact that I threw this in here, I'm surprised they aren't putting up on another hashtag like they were in the previous episodes. And I was talking about how they're just using the information I feed them to post shitty bot comments, you know? Are any of these relevant in a meaningful way? Why is this still... This is just the photo, right? We already looked at this, right? Just double checking if there's any other... Are there any other look... Oh, hold on. Oh, here we go. Maybe? Oh, man. Why would you do this? Even if it's private. Don't put your private photos online. Just... I can't believe how long... I'm not that old. But I can't believe the young people these days... And how many people are just like, yeah, there's an online service. I'll just feed it all the information I have with no consideration for what it costs or what they might do with that information. Like, even if you don't live in a totalitarian government, we'll skim over that. Don't upload personal data you wouldn't want leaked. Like, all it takes is the site to get breached or the wrong person to be like added as a friend or something like that, and then they can see this is doxing information about somebody who, like, this is not complex information to connect the dots on. This is very like I think for people who don't think about this stuff, maybe this seems surprising, but it's shockingly easy to find people online in our real world with very limited information. Like, all you need is like somebody's name, maybe their birthday, and like a username somewhere, and usually that opens up a world of information for people who are interested in snooping around. Mostly because, like, a lot of people, it doesn't necessarily open up that information. It's just, that's all it takes to find somebody on one or two websites. And so many people are just willing to throw up whatever information about themselves on websites. And so even if they think they're being slightly safe by not posting it all in the same place, you don't need that many points to connect dots and start figuring out who people are, or a whole lot of more information. I don't know what happened. We used to, like, I don't know, felt like people around my age had a much more wariness online of being like, be careful on the internet. You don't know who's there. You don't know who's looking and who's, you know, even if it wasn't back in the, you know, early 2000s, late 90s, it wasn't necessarily about, oh, people are stealing your information. It's just there are scary people in the public, and maybe you don't want to give them the opportunity to know things about you. So if you are somebody who you already know, Karen, that you are a target of the government by being associated with one of its most outspoken critics, that then if there's already a target on your back, and then you use various open websites of your own and others, social media platforms where you post all of your personal information, and even if you don't connect the dots between Molly and Nina Matronova, who you doxed explicitly here by literally saying that it was an alias. Like, holy shit. You just have no sense of self-preservation, do you? It's almost impressive. She wouldn't let me take any pictures of her. Well, she said you did at some point. Huh. Let's look around before I submit that. Just because we are on our last, like, 6 choices. Not that there's a lot of information left, but... once we get Nina's name in, we can put it in the patient database, and, well, we might also be able to put it in the, I don't suppose this will work, will it? No. So these are just the searches. It's been long enough since I played the first game that I can't actually remember if any of the names are crossing with each other. Because the events are... but I don't think the people are. This is a pretty detailed piece of information, but is not particularly pertinent right now. So what are we going to find out in the next... I don't feel like I've dumped a lot of bad info into Orwell. Or, like, useless info, you know? So they're urging us so aggressively to find out what's going on. I kind of forgot we had these objectives explicitly stated. Oh, this is the explicit... okay, so it's exploitable data on illegal or questionable actions on Ilya or Karen before Ravan Vart can release this provocative article. So is this what it is? It's just figure out that she's illegally, air quotes, illegally counseling somebody so that that's leverage against Raban? I guess. We don't have any other addresses to drop in here. I don't know why we would have... It really is just like these three main people and then all these very minor associates who are only there to give a few pieces of, well, four, but Oleg's dead, so everybody else is just there to provide extremely minor pieces of information. Okay, let's see what happens. Karen, you're a moron for putting this online. Like, even if it wasn't a security risk and a privacy risk for you, it's also fucking unethical from a, like, counseling standpoint. Ha, Molly, well done. Nina Maternova it is. Now that you have her name, it should be possible for you to obtain official documents on Nina. Read messages. Okay, so what triggered this? Where the fuck did this come from? This makes no sense. Raban freaking out about how this threatens the reputation of the Voice is insane. That's an insane take, dude. Like, you're on the very cusp of society in the first place. Your wife doing some illegal, or at least questionable counseling is hardly your biggest concern. This feels very forced as a way to stall the release of that document, which as well also isn't like, it's not a huge burn. Like, it's very scathing, but it's not like he has insider information or new, like, compared to the first day, the end of the first day was him catching the government in a fucking trap where he films them doing an extrajudicial killing on foreign soil. That's insane. That's a huge, like, expose. And then day two, he's just searching tabloids and writing up a hit piece with a ton of, like, just opinion stuff and personal attacks, and this is the thing they're more concerned about? This is wild. It's just very unbalanced. Okay, what is it, Ampleford? If this info on Karen doesn't yield results, we are in some serious trouble. Make it count. No matter what you do, we need this info to act against Karen and divert from Raban's actions. The idea that the government, that we as agents of the government could undermine the people's belief in the people's voice and Raban by pointing out his wife was counsel. This is what I was saying earlier. The rhetoric that is being put out by Raban and the rest of the people at the People's Voice is already very, like, it's very anti-government, it's very anti this administration and the administration of Pargis. Like, it's, everybody there already knows what they're about. And I was critiquing them before because it is a very bad prospect if you're trying to garner greater, wider support for your cause, to alienate people by using really severe rhetoric, or basically setting it in such a way that it's only for insiders, basically. So the type of people, the only people who are really going to be reading the People's Voice already are already people who basically agree wholeheartedly. At a minimum, even agree wholeheartedly, or to the point of possibly going further and being like, real wackos, as we've seen on their own comments sections and things. And so the idea that Raban's wife counseling a war veteran, if anything, would strengthen that position, not weaken it, not undermine it, because he can then say, even my wife is like going against the government explicitly by trying to help those who the government has forgotten. He could even spin it as, this isn't explicitly illegal. She's not doing it as part of her official duties. This is just, person-to-person counseling, or whatever twist they want to put on it. That should all be in favor. And yes, the fact that she hid it from him because he's a little bit crazy and doesn't have a full grasp on what's important and what can be used in a meaningful way in his own rhetoric, yeah, that's a problem, and I can understand why it would cause a disagreement. But for this to be the reason that article doesn't go forward, or it goes forward and then to the public's eye falls apart, is insane. Okay. So there's a lot to unpack here. Where the fuck did Raban get this information? If he got it from us, which is the only thing that makes sense to me, why would he believe it? Unless he has unknowingly been using one of our agents, or some government agent, as a trusted source, or a trusted, whatever, for some time unknowingly, and we can finally utilize that resource in order to feed him this information, why would he believe anything? He's clearly very much on the side of, I'm paranoid about everyone, I trust nobody, anything the government says especially is not to be trusted, and even my own family members, I don't care what they think, I'm going with my gut on these things. So how did he get this information to begin with? And why would he believe it? Why would he confront his wife about it? Somebody told us it happened as a session, a random guy telling you things about me. A very valid question, Karen. Confirmed what? Where did you get that? I told you I was talking to Nina all night. So you just confirmed it. No, she didn't. Unless Raban himself, was this a dodge? Is he ahead of us? Is he was this bait for Karen by him asking about Ilya, and instead when his actual question was about Molly or about Nina? Not an official patient of yours, and you're covering for her with Ilya. You're right, Nina isn't official business. I'm counseling her, but as far as the counsel is concerned, it's for Ilya. Why did you lie? You should have told me. Well, I mean, even spouses don't tell each other every single thing. But it wasn't really a lie. Also, are you looking at her schedule or what? Again, where did you get this information? You've been taking care of that army woman all night illegally. This is exactly why I didn't tell you I won't allow you to, yeah. You don't get it. To you, it's all about your TPV and your reputation. Very, very on point, yes. Raban, what do you mean you're sorry? Are you? It's reminding me every now and then on my, as I've mentioned before, if you watch most of my videos, especially if you watch the Solipsis Rambles videos, I've talked a couple of times about how I've got like a lot of those videos in the pipeline where I think about like, I should make a video about why people don't understand what please, thank you, and I'm sorry you're supposed to do in a social situation. Saying sorry does not mean anything if you don't know what you don't understand what you did wrong. It also doesn't mean anything if you don't indicate that you believe what you're saying is apology worthy. And you also can apologize for things that you don't think you should have to apologize for, but it's still worth doing. I'm not going to go on my whole ramble right now, but in this case, Raban, you are being very accusatory over something that doesn't matter. Unless, I'm going to give him a small point here. If, unbeknownst to us, he has been suspicious of the relationship between Karen and Ilya for some time, and this is finally his like attempt to confront them more about it in some regard, that then I could see him being agitated about that in a valid way. However, it's not entirely clear whether that is entirely the truth of the matter or not. I'm still trying to connect the dots between Karen, Ilya, Molly, and all these other aliases and pictures. I don't think my view of this has changed, because yes, it looks bad that Karen was on her official schedule. It looks bad that Ilya's on there. And multiple things can be true at the same time. Because everything I said, I think in the last episode, or maybe the one before, about how the various interactions between Ilya and Karen already look suspicious, and then the stuff on the dating site and stuff, it all paints a pretty explicit picture of infidelity. But I don't have the firm answer in that regard. I still think that Mary, aka Rita, is actually Karen, and I think this picture is probably of Molly / Nina, because where was here's the chat with Molly. No, it wasn't here. Where was it? Where she was saying... Here it is, right? Hold on. Let's read over this all again anyway, just to get clarity on the situation. We had a session scheduled for this morning. Why do you have back-to-back sessions? That's more suspicious. Back-to-back sessions would require some explanation. So, did they actually intend to schedule... I mean, they did, right? Because session on the 13th. This says evening of April 13th, but we don't have any indication of when. This says super late, but there's no date set. So until we get more information on Nina, we can't actually verify from the other direction what time they were actually scheduled to be together. But it is supposed to have been the 13th. Now, whether there was another exchange between them where they had to reschedule, that will be the damning evidence for or against Ilya. Because if Karen is using Nina as cover for her infidelity with Ilya, then saying that she was with Nina when she was with Ilya and then actually dealing with Nina the next day, that would be very telling. But I don't think, assuming, well, I'm getting too into the weeds on this. So we know Karen was at the Freedom Plaza in the evening. That is like factually true. She posts it herself. We have no indicator that Molly showed up for that. We have no indicator that Ilya showed up for that. We have suspicions that either one of them could have been there to meet Karen. Molly because she said she'd go meet them there, and Ilya because I think that he had a date that evening, and that there's these other connecting dots between him and Karen. Could have been both. I know I could answer these questions faster if I just threw Nina's information into these searches and found out what comes up, but I like the process of speculating about it, trying to figure out how it unfolds. So, let's see. If we put Nina's name in here, it's probably going to be denied, right? Well, no. What do you mean this patient is active? She was supposed to be denied counseling because she deserted or was dishonorably discharged, right? This is the part that's kind of confusing, is all of these websites are kind of an obfuscated version of a real world thing. So I don't understand. This should be an internal... Is this an internal database for the entire council, or is this only Karen's logs? Now, if we were going by real world standards, at least in most places in the real world, this patient information is not like can't be held by, well, it might be held by a larger health organization, but it should not be accessible to the larger health organization. The actual health information is pretty strictly held between doctor and patient, unless explicitly released by the patient. So is this supposed to be a general purpose patient database? It feels like it. But maybe this is just supposed to be her internal documents. September 14th, 2016. So She's been in treatment for 7 months. Which doesn't line up. Because she is on the website. Where is her website? Am I forgetting some? Am I missing it? It's here. Molly from Bonton. Let me reread this because I skimmed this before. AWOL because of personal issues. Okay, where was Molly's, here's the messages. We want to see Molly's here because this had more details. Combat engineer. I believe them holding my head high and serving, and I lost the only person I ever loved. He was part of my unit. Felt that I left my regiment. I was discharged for being AWOL. Then my son Michael was born. Okay, so she got into a relationship with somebody in her regiment. She got pregnant. He died. Then she had the son. That is a lot for a person to handle. Any one of those things is a lot to handle as an active duty military, or anybody really. And then to... It's understandable why she might have gone AWOL and then been, you know, blackballed by the military and the government for it. Yeah, this is extra gross rereading it because she's saying how, like, oh, I'll give you free counseling if, I'll give you free counseling as long as you let me publish your story. I'd like to focus on your remarks about the safety bill in my article because political criticism is sure to fuel some discussion. So this is exactly what I was saying earlier about Raban should be excited, if anything, about the prospect of her working with a somebody who's been blacklisted by her own country for having personal needs that were unaddressed. Take some photos if it's okay. There's a fine setting for no photos from me. Keep me anonymous. Where was the part she said before how it was here, right? Where she said you took photos anyway, even though I said no. I had to work urgently at Circle Mall. It just came up. Yeah, Karen's really being belligerent here. Okay, wait, so the reason... Okay, this is me metagaming a little bit. So, Karen, you're being needlessly belligerent. Because, like, yes, I can understand your frustration, but this, you already know enough about this person to know that they are under, one, a lot of stress all the time, and two, have a huge amount of responsibility, not for only for themselves but their child, to take care of them, look after them, ensure everything's dealt with. So yes, prioritizing her job, where she is apparently only takes hours whenever she can get them, is understandable. Being belligerent about it is not helpful if you actually mean to be a helpful person. So here's the reason, though. It's this, which is not... They're burying the lead yet again. We've already rescheduled it before. So I think that they never had their first meeting, and this is on the 14th, and on the 13th Karen met with Ilya instead. 10-12 hours. What about your kid? He needs his mother. Fuck off, Karen. This is speaking of another bad apology. It's sorry, but no, don't ever do that. You're always wrong. You're always the bad guy. Always. Universally. Sorry, but. You either meant sorry or you meant but. Not both. Pulling out of everything, it's giving me nightmares. It's my duty to help. You're making it about you, Karen, not about her. And if you actually care about her, then... Said you're able to assist me in taking photos even though I said no. So they're burying the lead on these two pieces of information, which I think are going to be very important. Even though I said taking photos, even though I said no, that again is pointing me back towards the pictures of Rita / what was the other name? The other alias that was being used on the dating website. I'm not going back to check it right now, but you know what it is. Nothing gets any better through that. So they did have one meeting. So what session did they cancel? Here's the problem. Their first meeting doesn't have a date. Right? The photos don't have a date. Her messages here are for the 10th. Oh, no, okay, so their first meeting must have been before March, or at or before March. Okay. You know, Orwell's a really bad tool, because if we wanted to, if I was, you know, creating a a surveillance tool for collating people's personal data or sequence of events, then having certain tools are very obviously missing. Like, hey, here's a chronology of events. That would be really important to put together so that I am not cross-referencing documents manually over and over again. Okay, so their first meeting was at the Freedom Plaza. It wasn't yesterday. That is probably another meeting that they canceled, which is probably what, maybe, possibly, this is me totally speculating, that's where Ilya comes in. We'll find out if I'm right about that. But as of today, they no longer intend to have any further further contact because they had a falling out. Okay. The stylistic art says something, but or hides some things, but you know, okay, I think this is the reason this photo is here. This photo says thank you for everything, and it's from people we don't recognize because it's probably another person she was counseling, and she likes taking pictures of the people she counsels. And if I'm right about that, maybe not. Maybe I'm spitballing too far. Anyway, we need to find out more about Nina. I think we can do that without passing too much more time because it's going to be mostly putting her name in a bunch of searches and then collating what we find and discerning what's actually important there. But we'll do that next time.